This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 109, about Gotham, A Dark Knight, season 4, episode 7, A Day in the Narrows.
This is Victoria Cartagena. I play Renee Montoya on Gotham.
Hey, this is Andrew Stewart-Jones. I play Christmas Allen on Gotham.
This is Robin Lloyd-Taylor. I'm David Mazouz.
Hey, Gotham TV podcast listeners. This is Maggie Gia, otherwise known as Poison Ivy.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back, Gothamites. Welcome back, detectives. This is Derek, and this is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 109. We're talking about A Day in the Narrows, episode 7 of season 4 of Gotham.
Yes, and welcome back, Piggly Wigglies, as well. Yes, I'm one of your hosts, John. Another Piggy podcast
Absolutely.
From us today with Professor Pyg, obviously being central to A Day in the Narrows for Jim and Harvey and the rest of the GCPD. Yeah, really good episode here with a lot of tension and strain, especially between Jim and Harvey.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you don't know, this is obviously our spoiler-filled thoughts, so if you haven't seen episode 7 of Gotham, go out and watch it and then come back to us. I think if we're not careful, we're going to run out of all of our piggy puns very quickly, unfortunately, John.
Definitely. It is difficult now to start to think of new and interesting pig puns indeed.
We'll get there.
But of course, to subscribe to our podcast, please head on over to Apple Podcasts at gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes. Mm-hmm. You can also search any other hog or swiney podcast catcher. Just search Gotham TV Podcast. And of course, you can head over to our website at gothamtvpodcast.com and go to the subscribe area on the homepage. And you can pick any of your favorite podcast catchers to listen to the podcast. And of course, as always, share the love, please subscribe, please rate, and please leave a review. It is always good to have that feedback from you for the podcast.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest way to subscribe to the podcast now is just go to the website, as John said, and gothamtvpodcast.com, because we've got all the links over there, much easier than it used to be, including Google Play, which we just got on a couple of weeks ago. Very excited about that. So if you're an Android listener and have Play Music, you can subscribe to us through Google Play now. Speaking of sharing the love, I think we got a few iTunes reviews in the last couple of weeks, John, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, our first one is from Annalise. These detectives not only have the most creative way for rating episodes, but also recap the episode in an enjoyable yet digestible 1-hour podcast. The case note method complete the whole detective feel, as well as adding bits of the Batman mythos to enhance the podcast for those of us only familiar with the show. The piece of their podcast I enjoy the most is the feedback portion, because that is the time where fans express their opinions on the episode, and it brings another interpretation of the episode. Yes, thank you so much for that review there, Annalise. It's really kind of you. And yeah, we love the feedback portion as well. It's great to get a wealth of views and perspectives on this show.
Absolutely, yeah. We also got a review in from Danny Ray. Gave us another 5-star review. Awesome show to get you thinking, she says. This is not a recap show, and for that I'm grateful. The guys point out a few key elements from the episode, a turning point, a plot element, a character arc, and talk about those in depth. You end up reviewing parts of the show as well as go back to other episodes for parallels. They are thoughtful, which makes it an interesting hour, not filled with mindless droning and rehashing each scene as it's played out. I enjoy their humour and attention to detail when planning and speaking about the episode. It makes for a super interesting and fun podcast. I don't know any friends that watch the show, so I enjoy spending an hour with the guys to hear another perspective on the episode, and they always leave me with something I hadn't thought about. A wonderful companion to one of my favourite shows. Cheers, lads. Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. I really love getting reviews over on iTunes like this to hear from listeners like yourself. Part of the reason we do the podcast is because we know there are some people that watch this show that don't have a circle of friends around them to talk about it. So always happy to hear from someone that's listening to our podcast for that reason.
Absolutely. Thank you, Danny Ray. It's really nice for any feedback, and especially when we get it through the podcast catchers. It really helps us learn and move forward with the podcast. Thank you.
And if you want to leave us a review on iTunes, please feel free. Always love to get the reviews over at iTunes or any of the other good podcast catchers. I think it's on to the episode, John.
Yeah, Derek, what do we have with the episode details this week?
Well, this episode was directed by John Baring. He's done 5 episodes of Gotham, or this is his 5th episode of Gotham. He did 2 during season 3, did All Will Be Judged and The Executioner. And back in season 2, he did Wrath of the Villains, This Ball of Mud and Meanness. And he also did one of your favourite episodes, John, and back in season 1, The Fearsome Dr. Crane.
Yes, a Gotham alumni at this stage, being with each season of Gotham so far, so great to see. Yeah, loved a lot of these episodes that John Baring has done, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the episode was written by Peter Blake. This is his first episode of Gotham. He has worked on many, many shows, right back to Private Practice and Ally McBeal. He's done episodes of Hemlock Grove, but I think he's done tons of episodes of the TV show House as well, which is quite interesting. So welcome on board, Peter Blake.
Yes, absolutely. From newbie to oldbie here, behind the camera.
But no relation to John Blake from Dark Knight Rises. So he isn't the future Robin or anything like that. It's just the writer of the show.
Oh, you never know.
So, John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Professor Pyg continues to strike fear throughout the GCPD with a postal delivery of 44 bloody hogheads, just as 3 officers go missing in the Narrows. Gordon, Bullock, and the GCPD head into the Narrows to look for clues and hunt down the pig. Elsewhere, Bruce Wayne reconnects with his former friend and reformed former bully, Tommy Elliott. They convince him to come along for a night, as Bruce lets his hair down and goes full-on wild child in his newly purchased nightclub. But back in the Narrows, however, the investigation becomes increasingly tense, as they are joined by the Penguin's men and the Huntsman. That places further strain on Harvey and Jim's partnership. Following a tip-off, however, and believing to have the hog cornered, the GCPD rush headlong into a killing trap as Professor Pyg shows himself to be a cunning swine and a master of disguise. Meanwhile, Sophia's advice to Penguin falls on deaf ears, and Gotham City's sirens join together to show their strength. Finally, after a long and tough day on the streets of Gotham, Jim's message to uphold the law begins to cut through to the officers and detectives of the GCPD back at the precinct.
So very much something that's been coming for a long time between Harvey and Jim here. Really, there's been a lot of tension between these two characters over the last couple of weeks. So really interesting to see that play out in this episode. And lots of stuff going on in this episode. I think go to case note number 1. The pig's heads delivered to the GCPD. This, I thought, was a really kind of fun but kind of creepy opening scene.
Oh, very creepy. One for every cop in the precinct, though, apart from Jim Gordon. So the bullseye is back on his back. Mm-hmm. It really is. You can sense everyone just looking at him. You can sense him kind of beginning to float up into the sort of the precinct and to be hit by light. It is angelic Jim. And all the other cops and officers really, I suppose, have a little bit of a grudge against him at this stage. Yeah. But we do know that the pig has some respect and admiration for Jim, and to some extent has been motivated by his clear distinction between good and evil, right and wrong. You know?
Absolutely.
So it really definitely puts everyone on edge here in the precinct, which I love. The bloody boxes that come rolling in and the parcel delivery really just are like, well, we deliver them. We don't question anything about the box. Plus, it's like, but it has blood dripping out of it. It's like, but we're delivering it to the cop shop.
I know, it's like we'll literally deliver anything. I'd love to see the tagline for this delivery service. I love Harvey saying to them, "Did you not notice the stench of death?" And the guy responds with, "I have a cold," which is hilarious. What about the other 6 guys that are with you carrying these 44 boxes into the GCPD? Really good stuff. And as you say, I love that this shifts the target back onto Jim from the rest of the GCPD agents here. That's not Pyg's intention. Professor Pyg's intention is to highlight that Jim is the good cop. If you side with him, you'll be left alone. You don't take kickbacks from Penguin, you'll be left alone. But it seems to, as you say, put the light on Jim from the rest of them. Even Harvey is saying to him, "Well, you're safe here. We're not safe. I'm going to do anything I can to keep my head off the chopping block from Professor Pyg."
Yeah.
He says half the GCPD have left town because they didn't want to wear bacon-flavored death masks.
Bacon flavored. I suppose if it's the way to go and you really enjoy a nice good sort of rasher of bacon in the morning on toast, a good bacon butty, then maybe it's a good way to go.
Well, sadly, the death match goes on after you've had your head chopped open, so
damn it.
unfortunately, you won't get to taste the enjoyable bacon flavour.
Great if you got fried eggs with it as well.
But it is really interesting. I love that they've set these guys up against each other. And Penguin brings in Headhunter, this character, and I love the reason why he's bringing him in is because Zaz has gone off to visit his booby, his family. And so Zaz has gone off on holiday. Penguin's giving this reaction to this as going, I didn't even know this guy had family. Why is he taking a holiday? And why has he left me with this guy, Headhunter, who is the cockiest assassin I have ever seen?
So good. It's my signature, the double tap, which of course comes back to stab him in the neck and then in the gut right at the end of the show. But really good. And like he is just relishing his little nips and tucks with Jim Gordon. He knows he's getting under his skin.
Oh yeah.
And he's enjoying it loads. And I must say, yeah, this is a really nice little cameo. And I would say he is my person of the week, really, in that sense. I really enjoyed, he just fitted in so nicely. You could see him with Penguin, that they worked so well together. And then, I must say the witty sarcasm in which Penguin delivers, it's my signature right at the end after knifing him in the neck and the stomach. As he does a double tap on the Headhunter. Is really, really good. I think though in the synopsis I called him the Huntsman.
No, I think you got Headhunter.
Okay, grand.
You're okay. The Headhunter is actually a character from DC comic books. He is definitely the character of the week. We've been picking out a character each week that has only been in one episode. Someone that stood out. Sometimes it's a person that just has one line in the episode, but that really stood out to us. But without a doubt, Headhunter in this episode is someone really interesting. You can't take your eyes off him throughout the episode, whether you like him or not. I think he's a really good standout character. But yes, he is a DC comic character, which I thought was quite interesting.
I mean, I think the good thing about this whole Pighead delivery is it really sets off as well Jim and Harvey's continually strained relationship after the hospital visit of Jim that really ended up not playing well for Harvey. Jim is still there on top of him saying, you must reform, you must get back on the straight and narrow. And this really sets off a fantastic interplay between these two partners of the GCPD through this episode, which I think, to me, this is a Professor Pyg and it's a Jim and Harvey episode. It's really, really good.
I totally agree with you. And the fact that Harvey completely undermines Jim in front of Penguin at the beginning of this episode, where Jim says, we will never, ever work with you. And Penguin responds with, well, that's not what your captain said, so you will be working with us. I don't care. And Harvey says, yeah, as I said, it's not your head on the chopping block, Jim. So yeah, I like how this is playing out. I really, really, really enjoyed it. But let's take a little break from the GCPD. And for our case note 2, let's talk about the Sirens.
Yeah, they have officially arrived. They have got their swagger on, and they are cutting it up in the dark areas of Gotham, the alleyways, the warehouses, the dodgy places of Gotham. You will find the Sirens making a buck or two. That was kind of a nice big bag of swag that Selina Kyle had managed to take on board, but she did get trapped, cat in a box, and she really did and needed the help of Tabitha.
Well, she did set off a car alarm, so not the greatest cat burglar in the world if you can't break into a car without setting off
steep learning curve, definitely.
But it does bring us probably the best Saw-like death that I've seen in a TV show, outside of Walking Dead, where one of the guards that's in there, one of the criminals, gets death by motorbike. That was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, that was pretty grim, actually. And that's the point where the camera pans back to Selina, where she's like, oh shit. It's really like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. These guys are absolutely crazy. But it's really good because, I mean, this relationship with the Sirens anyway has been kind of slightly, has it been there, has it not? What's going on, That there's the definite sort of conflict and tension between Tabitha and Babs, given all the history that's gone on there. The fact that Barbara anyway has been really focused on Ra's al Ghul and putting his plan into action in Gotham, but now he is dead as far as she is aware. Then it's really like she was going to sell up shop and move away. It was done and dusted, and you did have Kat really trying to persuade her to keep it going. Tabitha the same as well, trying to sort of appeal to her better half, the half that really made Tabitha and Barbara such a great team at the start of season 3.
I think Tabitha's just really pissed off with her because she did lie to her again. She convinced her to join up with Barbara again, even though she knew it was the wrong thing to do. And she's now telling them, well, the only reason I did that is because Ra's al Ghul told me to be his eyes and ears in the city, and I thought the best way to do that was to get you two on board. See you later, kind of thing. And Tabitha really isn't a person that likes to trust people. She never has been. So the fact that she trusted Babs and is just told immediately that, well, there's nothing we can do here. This isn't something that we really needed to do. I thought it was quite interesting. There's a nice little line from Barbara, which is taken from Prince's song "Let's Go Crazy," where she goes, "A lesson from Big Sis: in this life, you're on your own," which I thought was a nice little touch, where she's trying to get away from the relationship between Tabs and Kat. Quite interesting.
Yeah, but they definitely come together in an orgy of gunfire and blood. I must say, I really enjoyed Barbara coming in, just picking off the 5 or 6 bikers who are part of this gang. And then you've got then the formation of this sisterhood coming together. I don't think it's actually being called the Sirens as such as yet by them in the show, but hopefully...
It's only because of the Sirens Lounge in last season that we're referring to them that
But
way.
certainly, I really hope to see this threesome start to make an impact on Gotham.
Definitely.
And certainly as well, because we did talk about Leslie Tompkins, Grundy, and Ed in the Narrows. It's really good to begin to get these other circles of influence of badness in a sense that Gotham has always had this idea of this single kingmaker in Penguin. Yes, it's there, but it's also had so many other players doing evil and rotten stuff as well. And I think here, this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Again, it'll test Jim's moral code because there is Kat and Barbara in there. He'll probably leave them alone, despite all their thievery and law breaking.
I'm not sure. Jim sounds like he's going on a proper attack again against Gotham. We'll see how it plays out in future. On to case note 3, Enter the Narrows. So this is a place that's been talked about quite a lot in Gotham. We know it from the movies. It's been used quite a lot in the Christopher Nolan films, where they're talking about the lower class citizens of Gotham, the people that don't have any money, the people outside of Bruce Wayne's sphere of influence, and generally the people under the protection of Bruce Wayne live in the Narrows because they have nothing, absolutely nothing. I really like this scene. I like that the GCPD and Penguin's men are teaming up together, and they are brutally taking out the tenants and the residents of the Narrows. So much so that as they arrive, because they've been subject to this type of thing in the past, the tenants of the tenement block in the Narrows start throwing TVs out their window at them and start throwing stuff out their window at them. I love that we have Headhunter taking two bits of equipment out with 2 guns as they fall towards him. I think that's a cool little moment. But yeah, they really don't want them there, do they?
It really is like Baltimore with the breakdown of trust and respect between communities and the police here. It really is.
Well, the TV show The Wire of Baltimore, right?
Well,
Not
absolutely.
actual Baltimore.
Although I think Baltimore can be pretty dangerous in certain districts. So, yeah, I mean, it really is like The Wire here in that sense. And my point being is that it absolutely makes sense that this can happen, and it's really good. You know, a lot of people might go, this is far-fetched, but, you know, this is really interesting that this relationship exists in GCPD. It didn't look quite like the Narrows. It looked like sort of a warehousing old Docklands thing. It would have been nicer to have kind of gotten more of an idea of slums and so on, or more tightly packed together.
Right.
But sure, it's a TV filming location and so on. So it felt quite big to me. It looked like these big warehouses.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the fact that they're in this new area of Gotham that we haven't really seen before. It's just been talked about, and this is really where Pyg has gone Pyg has gone into the pigsty, really, and he is sort of this maze of staircases, apartment blocks, tenement areas, warehouses that he's able to move through, to hide himself, to manipulate, to really play the game of cat and mouse, really, with GCPD. I find really good. I mean, we see a lot of brutality here from the police, certainly from the headhunter, and it really, again, puts a lot of tension between Jim. Jim is there trying to say, let's just talk to these people, let's get the information that we can. Harvey certainly is like, go on lads, in you go, and start sweeping the area without any real thought for people's property and so on. And certainly Penguin's men are absolutely relishing being able to go in and beat people up, break things, steal things, and all this kind of stuff, you know.
It really did kind of remind me of like the SS during World War II, grabbing people out of their apartments and just kicking them on the ground. There is that moment where Jim comes in and finds one of his men beating a resident of the Narrows on the ground outside of his apartment, asking him no questions, just kicking him repeatedly in the stomach. Like, what's the goal here? What are they trying to accomplish, you know? That's where Jim's frustration comes in this episode. And I think it's really well played. He's always had this frustration with the team in the GCPD. It's been something that's been brewing within him for years, and he's been trying to fix it year after year, season after season on this show. This is the absolute embodiment of his problem. These guys are willing to go in on the orders of the biggest criminal in Gotham, the self-proclaimed king of Gotham, and just beat up normal lower-class people in this city because they're asked to do it. They're not there getting information out. There's no questions being asked. So you can see how much this is affecting Jim as we go through. And I think it's a really good scene to identify that whole thing. I love how it plays out later on. The information is gotten by Headhunter being as terrifying as he is to this woman whose dying husband is being threatened with death by the headhunter, something that Jim wouldn't do, obviously. So would he have gotten the information?
I wouldn't be so sure about that. He does like a good threaten occasionally.
I'm not sure he would threaten someone that's on a life support machine with death if his wife didn't
talk.
No,
that's true. That is true.
But because this is so brutal, they get the information out. So, you know, it's kind of the point is, would Jim have won the day if he didn't use Headhunter, or if Headhunter wasn't there, you know? I love that it leads into Penguin and Sophia's discussion, where Penguin's going, I did that, I'm the one that found this information, this is all me, stupid GCPD. And Sophia's response is, my father would never have aligned himself to the GCPD because they will fail and they will take you down with them.
Yeah, definitely. I really like that as well. And of course, it is this moment where they think they've found an officer and Professor Pyg, and they've managed to kind of corner them in this building in the Narrows. And you have all the press out there, and yeah, you have Penguin gloating outside. So it's all very good. And again, the tension between Jim and Harvey really comes to the fore here, which obviously we'll get to in our next case note. Case note 4. Yeah, here, Jim, through failing, finally gets through to the team in the GCPD. Mm-hmm. You know, the GCPD, Harvey, are no longer listening to him. They are on full-blown taking orders from Penguins. They feel they've cornered the Pyg, and in they go. Jim is cautioning them against doing this. He thinks and believes that this is a trap, that the Pyg is way too cunning to have done this deliberately, to have trapped himself. And so you really get here the GCPD rushing headlong in to save what they think is the officer and to kill or capture the Pyg. They shoot the Pyg, and it ends up being the officer that has been kidnapped previously. The officer is simply just a blow-up doll, and then bish bash bosh, out come the big guns as they fall into this kind of killing zone trap that Pyg has left for them with the revolving turret guns. Yeah, so and a lot of the officers get cut down, but obviously there are those that are kind of hiding and trying to survive this bloodshed. And it's only then that Jim coming in, blowing his way through the turret guns
with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, real hero moment here for Jim. That it's just really well played because, yeah, you ultimately, before this, you see this breakdown between Jim and Harvey, which I just really, really enjoyed. I thought it was great to see this kind of final breakup to an extent, because what I found was that after Jim comes in and saves everyone, and whilst he doesn't say it, it is a kind of "I told you so" moment. He doesn't say it like that. I loved the response of Harvey back in the GCPD. I think Donal Logue played this so well. He's not suddenly sucking up to Jim. It does look like their partnership seems to have been really damaged here by what's gone on in the Narrows over the course of this day. It's a resignation of, well, listen to him, he's the cop in town. I'm just the cop that shot a cop.
Yeah.
And it's a really good moment because, a lot of other shows could have made that they're all made up and, really sorry. So I feel his response is really, really genuine here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree with you. I think this is a really good scene. There's something that was said about Donal Logue earlier on in the season, that you can give him a line about eating a sandwich, or you can give him a line like this where he's saying, I'm a cop killer now. I shouldn't be the one to lead you, effectively, is what he's saying to the team in the GCPD. Listen to Jim. He's the real cop here. There is this moment where you go, okay, Donal Logue can act in any situation in this show. He can really do anything, and this is a really good scene. Speaking of good scenes, one that we kind of skipped over or glossed over during this is the scene between Officer Fazoli, which is Professor Pyg dressed up as one of the police officers, and Jim in the back of the ambulance. I really love this scene. It's a great moment for Jim to actually get a little bit off his chest, where he's saying to Officer Fazoli that there's so much rot in Gotham that it gets to him. Even he gets to his breaking point at times, or has gotten to his breaking point at times. He also is not beyond reproach, which I'm wondering whether that will bite him in the ass later on from Professor Pyg, because he seems to look up and respect Jim so much, and Jim has just admitted to him that he has even worked for Penguin in the past. So I like the ownership that he's taking of that, though. It's something that we've talked about a few times, about Jim being self-righteous, but I like the fact that he is taking ownership of some of this.
Yeah, finally we get the admission of guilt from Jim. But he takes ownership of it, absolutely. I think it's an important step for Jim as a character that's happened, to be honest. I think the fact that it happens in front of Professor Pyg, disguised as Officer Fazoli, is really good. I mean, that moment where he removes all the prosthetics and makeup is such a great moment here. And I do think that he is a great character in this show, is Professor Pyg. As I said during the last podcast, I think the fact that he is not enhanced in any way, he doesn't have superpowers, he's not been exposed to Indian Hill, he's just a clever guy using the same kind of techniques as Batman. Ultimately, he's taken a moniker, he's doing disguise, he's doing investigative work, he's laying traps, he's using technology, all this kind of stuff. He is almost like the reverse of Batman in that sense, in terms of his methods, in the sense that he will kill and he will do it for a reason.
Absolutely.
Certainly how it's been set up here. So it's a really interesting character here. I do like that Penguin takes the credit for the operation that finally gets them to the point where they think they've cornered Professor Pyg in the courthouse in the Narrows, where he calls him the notorious PYG.
The notorious Pig, that's right. Yeah, just like the notorious BIG. Very cool.
But that was very, very good.
And just a point about that, there is that call from Professor Pyg where he does call out, just like in the comic books, he didn't take the name from a pig, he took the name from Pygmalion, a play about transformation. And he's saying to Jim, I'm going to force you to change, but I can't force you to change if you're dead. So he's going to make him change and see Professor Pyg's side of things, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
They've done that.
I wonder if it will be elocution lessons or electrocution lessons.
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean, I think here Pyg's plan is epic in its plot and in its scope, and it is a spectacle, and Jim ultimately is his muse here. Jim is this is the person he is obsessed on, and is the absolute motivation and muse for everything he is doing. And it will be really interesting to see how maybe that collapses. Will it be that Jim ultimately is even more honest with Professor Pyg about how he has dealt with the dark side, riot of Gotham and being complicit in it, in the same way that Harvey has been here, and Pyg suddenly realizes maybe he's not the shining star that he used to think he was. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is playing into the eternal question for Batman as to whether his presence in the city of Gotham created someone like the Joker, created his greatest enemy. So for Jim now, this is the question that is going to be plaguing him because of his presence in Gotham and his push to kill and take out the people who are under the influence of Penguin. Has that created someone like Pyg who realized Jim wasn't getting the job accomplished? Maybe I can do a better job if I go this strong and this forceful. So quite interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm really glad they brought that in from the Batman side into Jim Gordon now. So we'll see how this goes. They're kind of a mirror image of each other. So interesting to see how that goes.
I think with that on to case note 5.
Party Bruce.
Party Bruce indeed.
Yes.
Wild child, drinker, wearing sunglasses in a nightclub. Where will the fun and frolics end?
This is so interesting. I love how it starts out with the discussion between Bruce and Alfred, where Bruce is completely detached at the charity ball or charity function that's in Wayne Manor at the beginning of the episode. And the reason he's completely detached is because he's killed a man now. He's killed Ra's al Ghul, who did disintegrate into a skeleton, obviously. So there's kind of a detached feeling from Bruce here. He's kind of wondering, how am I supposed to deal with this? It's not like I had a funeral for somebody. It's not like I shouldn't have killed a guy. My rage took over and I killed him. Alfred having the conversation with him where he's saying, unless you face your anger, it will consume you. So being that staying hand again with Bruce, which is always a great purpose for Alfred, but I do really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. We really get to see, a few people from Bruce's school past as well. We get Grace Blundell. He meets up with a brooding Bruce and invites him to hang out with friends, which includes Tommy Elliott.
Yes.
It's not played by the same guy, unfortunately.
Not Cole Vallis, no.
And to be honest, I didn't really get a sense. There was that initial moment where Bruce recognizes Tommy Elliott as the guy who had previously been bullying him, and Bruce had sort of hit back with his fists. But it's really Tommy Elliott's friends who is the kind of, the bad guy in this group.
Brandt.
Brandt, who is really just being a bit of an arse, I suppose.
Such a D-bag.
And is dispatched, I think, fairly well as a billionaire can, where Bruce really throws his weight and money around and the name of the Waynes to really kind of show up Brandt as such a douchebag. But I think it'll be interesting to see, is this just Tommy Elliott because it's there to show and drive Party Bruce forward, or will we get some kind of a meaningful connection between Bruce Wayne and Tommy Elliott? Because I think within this episode, it really is just simply, this is just a minor kind of connection back to the past.
Well, I think because Grace Blumenthal didn't exist in the show before, we've never seen her in the show before. We've never really seen Bruce interact with anybody other than Selina and Silver St. Cloud. So the only person he's interacted before with is Tommy Elliott, who they turned into a bully in season 1. In the comic books, Tommy Elliott is his only friend from childhood who becomes something quite significant in the future. But I'd like to see them start to play on that. I like that Tommy calls out, I was a bit of a D-bag the last time you met me back in school. You were right to punch me. I like that he calls that out. So I'm hoping there'll be a little bit of a friendship developed out of this, with Bruce throwing his weight around and buying the club as he's getting turned away from his friends. How cool is that?
Yeah.
That's what billionaires do. It's very cool. But one thing I did want to call out is with Brandt, that moment of wish fulfillment when Brandt is slagging off at Alfred, which you do not do in front of Bruce. Brandt is saying to him, is that butler, that old buttle guy, is he still buttling around? Are you buttling together? And then we have that moment of wish fulfillment as Bruce jumps across the room and beats him to the ground, and then it cuts back and it's a moment of daydream, which I think is really cool. I love seeing that.
That's very cool. And of course, Bruce buying the nightclub here really links into, I think, Batman Begins, where Christian Bale buys the hotel or the restaurant, or the Dark Knight, is it? I think, but where he's playing around in the water feature in the hotel lobby with members of the Russian ballet, and he's saying, it doesn't matter, I own this hotel. It's really connecting into that debonair playboy side of Bruce Wayne's sort of smoke and mirrors, really. It's really going into this. And I mean, certainly then, off goes the party. It's rocking, it's raving. There's a lot of underage drinking going on, which, you know, I can't say I didn't do that when I was that age. But it's champagne rather than like Buckfast or Diamond White under the railway bridge.
And remember, so Bruce is like 15, 16 here, and it's 21s in the US. You know, maybe Gotham's a little bit different. But
I think it would have been strange me popping a champagne cork underneath the railway arches in Ormskirk, I think, going pop. But I mean, it's full on. He's really kind of starting to develop this party Bruce side. It'd be interesting to see how far they take this. I mean, is it that he's developing party Bruce, or is it simply a release from what's happened with Ra's al Ghul and with the death of the professor at the Natural History Museum and his son? You know, that's still weighing heavily, and this is kind of an escape here.
Well, I think much like Alfred's advice to him about having to face your anger or else it will consume you, there's a lot of things that Bruce always has to deal with that may consume him. And I think this moment when he talks to Grace and just becomes party Bruce for the night, this isn't a mask yet. This is something that he's going to have to learn to balance with the rest of his life as well. But he could easily become this character who just goes out drinking every night and sleeps in all day because he doesn't have anything else to do. So he's not fighting crime anymore because of what happened with Ra's. So potentially this is something that will consume Bruce for a while, and we will see a dark storyline.
Yeah.
But interesting, really, really cool. I loved the touch with the music choices for the episode. So as they walk into the bar, there's a song by Spandau Ballet, which is playing, and the main lyric of it is "I don't need the pressure on," which is very much what Bruce is feeling. And then when he takes over the club, not just buys it, when he owns the club
and owns the dance floor.
Yeah, it's the Prodigy song Spitfire. So it's really like he's a powder keg ready to explode, and this is his explosion in the middle of this party club. Looks like a cool place. I wouldn't mind visiting that if I went to Gotham.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, John, overall moment of the week for me, I think it's Party Bruce. I think that's a really, really cool moment. It's something that we've been waiting for Bruce to see that side of him for a while. Any other big moments of the week for you?
I think for me, it was the moment where Harvey, back in the precinct, in a resigned way, says, Jim's the hero here, I'm just a cop killer. But just the whole way it's played out by Harvey Bullock, it is certainly doesn't seem to me as though there has been a forgive and forget here from Harvey. He seems kind of fairly bruised and battered and shaded by the whole thing. And I don't necessarily think, and I certainly hope not, that in the next episode, Jim and Harvey are back to their old partnership ways. I hope this has lingering consequences, and I hope that maybe it's the kickoff point of really developing Harvey as a character that we saw back in season 1, rather than simply having him as doing, okay, we also did the Bulkism of the Week, and it was great fun, but it's nice to see this side of the interactions between Jim and Harvey. Mm-hmm. So that was my moment of the week. Yeah, and Party Bruce was excellent as well. Yeah. And for me, the character of the week is Headhunter, played by Kyle Vincent Terry. I just loved this assassin working with the Penguin, the double tap that he keeps going on, and in the end, you're getting rolling eyes from Penguin, from Jim, and from everyone else.
The fact that he keeps telling everybody, it's like, I have my signature, this is my signature, and they keep overhearing him saying it to other people as well. It's very funny.
And just the fact then that when Penguin slices and dices him at the end with his knife, and he does it once in the neck and once in the stomach, and he goes, it's a double tap, it's my signature. Yeah. Really, really good.
Yeah, very cool. John, overall, how would you rate this episode of Gotham?
For me, another really strong episode of Gotham and a great episode of Professor Pyg in here. I loved how it moved into almost how, Professor Pyg, the Penguin, and his licensing system, and Jim and Harvey's relationship are all kind of together here, and they're all putting pressure on Jim and Harvey and really beginning to tear them apart. I really like that. So I think for me, I would give this 4.5 piggy heads in a box out of 5.
Nice, yeah. I'd be around there with you. Yeah, I think this is one of the stronger episodes of the season so far.
Definitely,
and this season has been very strong.
Yeah,
we can't give 5s to everything.
No, we can't. But this was really, really good. I like to see that the Sirens are kind of back in town. It's great to get something on that. Again with Sophia and Penguin, I quite like the idea that she kind of stood up to him here saying, you shouldn't really be doing this, rather than it feeling as though she's kowtowing to him. Yeah. But again, they need to move that along, I think, for me, definitely. So, another solid, strong episode of Gotham for me.
Yeah, that didn't feel like a central part of the story this week. It just felt like it was touching on it, which is good. I think if you're going to keep it as a story for a long term, keep it in the background for a little while and then bring it back out as a big story and do something with it in future. But really cool. I get on to feedback. Our first piece of feedback came in by voicemail from Claire Payne, where she went through our website at gothamtvpodcast.com, and you can do that and leave up to 90 seconds of your thoughts about any of the episodes.
Hello, Gotham TV podcast. I really like the heavy police content in this episode with the GCPD and the strike force hunting down Professor Pyg. Even though Professor Pyg did not feature as much as last week's episode, his presence felt really strong, like a thriller. I did not spot he was the police officer in the ambulance with Jim, and that was genius, and I'm glad Jim came out as a hero, even though the relationship between Jim and Harvey is severely fractured. Party boy Bruce Wayne was good, and it showed really well how he channeled his anger. One question, did Bruce own the club, or did he buy it when he spoke to the manager? Really like how Tabitha has got Selena's back and she isn't putting up with Barbara, but Barbara realising that she does want to stay in business with Tabby and Selena. I really like the gradual realisation amongst the GCPD officers that maybe Pax Panguina is not good after all. Mr. Headhunter was an interesting head of security, which made me value Zaz and his professionalism as an assassin. Oswald getting used to the little people in his life is very funny. I really hope Detective Harper stays around in the GCPD because she's a great addition. My scene of the episode is Professor Pyg removing his prosthetics while talking to Jim on the cell phone. Really clever twist. My favourite line when Professor Pyg explains to Jim how he spells his name. Thank you for the great podcast, Claire.
Thank you so much, Claire. It's really good to know that you value the work of a professional assassin rather than a slightly less professional assassin. Don't annoy Claire.
Absolutely. But she'll get the right assassin, which is good. Yeah, and to your point about Bruce Wayne, I think he does buy the club. He makes the point to Brandt that the club owner or the bouncer does know who he is, he just doesn't care, whereas Bruce Wayne's name carries much more weight in the city of Gotham. He definitely talks to the manager separately, and I think he buys the club there and then, just like he did in Batman Begins, where he bought the restaurant there and then when somebody refused him what he wanted to do. So just a nice little callback to that type of Bruce Wayne character.
Yeah, and the fact of Professor Pyg taking off the cosmetics, taking off the prosthetics, and so on. Really, really cool. And the Pygmalion story, as opposed to him just being a pig and a nasty old swine and hog, is really good. And I really hope they keep Officer Harper as well. I think she's a really good addition here to the GCPD precinct. Yeah. It almost, to me, feels as though, she absolutely is with Jim and could be an internal affairs type of person, or maybe major crimes unit, who knows. And even the other detective at the end, where, in the precinct, I can't remember his name, but where he says, no, we're not accepting these anymore, and he is the one that rips up the license. Yep. I thought he had that nice little journey in this episode where he went from being shut up Jim
and kicking the guy on the ground,
to having the message hit home, really, of the fact of actually what his job is to uphold the law, and Pax Penguina is not upholding the law at all here.
I do like that statement that Jim makes to the press, where effectively the only thing he says to them is, if Professor Pyg is listening, the GCPD are coming for you, which is effectively saying we're now united behind this one goal, which is taking you down.
Claire also adds on Facebook, over on our group, which you can join by going to facebook.com/groups/ Gotham TV podcast. Claire says and adds, I would like Sophia Falcone plans to be revealed and find out exactly what she is up to by using Clayface. I think Oswald would need to pick up on something that all of a sudden he didn't trust what she was saying, or discover how close Sophia is to Jim. So Clayface Jim, love this version of Jim, would make a return under Oswald's instructions. I really like how they've used Clayface in the past seasons. This probably will never happen, but it is a fun idea. Yeah, it's a really good idea of using Clayface in this way, as has been done previously in Gotham. And it's a nice way of keeping that flow of this character within this series, and it would really, I think, advance this storyline, because otherwise it's going to probably be that shock, horror, revelatory moment of walking in on Jim and Sophia in her lounge or something.
Yeah, but the other thing is, unfortunately, Sophia is also not telling Jim anything either. It's not like she's sharing her plan with him. So she does seem to play everything close to her chest. I do like the idea of using Clayface Jim in future. That was a cool version of the character. Really, really enjoyed that. But not sure if he would get much out of it, since she's as closed off with Jim as she is with Penguin. Thanks for that, Claire. We also got an email in from Monica Jones over at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. She says, with this episode, I loved the orphan who stood in Penguin's way more than I think I've ever loved a no-line character before. My favourite line of the episode was Penguin saying, "The second shot is my signature." I hate that character and was elated to see him gone so soon. We didn't even mention the young girl in this episode in Penguin's house, where he can't get her out of the way of the TV and just keeps picking her up and moving her out of the way. Hilarious. Really well played by Robin Lord Taylor. Very funny moment.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Monica, for the feedback there. And of course, yes, we did have a great birthday in Dublin. Thank you. Over on Facebook, Jason Wiley goes, "Hello, drunken Bruces. Loved this episode. It felt like a mid-season finale. So much porky goodness. I thought the introduction of Grace was pretty good, and the new Tommy was a welcome addition. He looks the part. I was also digging the whole grandstanding between Penguin, Harvey, and Jim before the trap. But at the end of the episode, my heart was breaking seeing Harvey become consumed by the dark side to a point of no return. It was fun seeing Bruce hit party mode like Christian Bale and him putting on those shades like Tom Cruise in Risky Business. Special mention to that motorbike death scene that was straight out of the Saw film. Good stuff."
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Enrique Ricuro goes, "I also liked seeing Bruce slip on the billionaire playboy." Yeah, absolutely. A great moment here of Bruce becoming Party Bruce.
Definitely. Really like that call out from Jason Wiley about Tom Cruise and Risky Business with the Ray-Ban shades as he kicks Brandt out of his brand new club. Really nice moment. Yep, thanks for those pieces of feedback over on Facebook. Just one that came in over on Twitter from John W. Garns, who asked the question, really, did Gordon's insistence on ridding Gotham of corruption make a villain like Pyg? I think we talked about this in the episode, but I did want to call out John because we had a really interesting discussion about that over on Twitter. I do absolutely feel that this is a follower or a disciple of Jim, someone that totally and truly believes in Jim's idea, but just is taking it too far.
Yes. Thank you, John, for that. It's really good. And Enrique and Jason, remember, you can follow us as we live tweet over at Gotham TV Podcast. Mm-hmm. And of course, Facebook again. Pop on over to the group at facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV Podcast. And all there is 3 little entry keys of 3 little questions.
Yes. Just very simple. Just answer the questions and you'll be in the group. Thanks so much for joining us. We have heard when our first break in season of Gotham is going to be. It'll be for Thanksgiving, which is in the US is the 23rd of November. So a couple more episodes before the first break in the season. We don't know how long it's going to be on break for yet. But if you want to join us for some other podcasting, come on over to Defenders TV Podcast, where we're reviewing Thor Ragnarok this week. The episode will be out later on this week. So come and join us for another episode with our co-host Chris.
Yes, and of course we are building on Defenders TV Podcast as well to the Netflix Marvel The Punisher series. So if you like your blood and guts from Gotham, maybe The Punisher is something to investigate, where there is also blood and guts. Maybe a bit more serious.
I think it will.
And less of the Batman 66 kind of world. But nonetheless, we will be over there as well. As always, please listen, rate, and subscribe, and share the love for our podcasts over on any good podcast catcher, Google Play or Apple Podcasts. You can just head on over to GothamTVPodcasts.com and go on the right-hand side where there is the subscribe panel.
Mm-hmm. And thanks for joining us so much for this episode. We'll be back next week with our episode 8 of season 4 of Gotham, Stop Hitting Yourself, which airs on the 9th of November.
I'm going for my signature double tap.
Thanks. Talk to you again next time.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, we will speak with you again next time. Bye.
This is Victoria Cartagena. I play Renee Montoya on Gotham.
Hey, this is Andrew Stewart Jones. I play Christmas Allen on Gotham.
This is Robin Lloyd Taylor. I'm David Mazouz.
Hey, Gotham TV podcast listeners. This is Maggie Gia, otherwise known as Poison Ivy.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.